Welcome to my program. Welcome to my show. So guys, for you bastards out there, I watched almost 4 hours. Okay, I started it, a little bit of that after a while. Almost 4 hours of the two titans of intellectualism, Jordy, Joe. This summer, Jordy. People were talking about this on Twitter and all this crap, so I was like, hey, okay, let's give this a look. Probably squeeze some great content out of this one. Anything, especially like a 4-hour podcast, you'll find something you'll be like, okay, that's kind of interesting, maybe, Like there's a part where Jordy starts talking about Carl Jung, and I'm like, you know what? Probably not going to listen to too much of Jord on this one. But, yeah, but there's probably some interesting ideas, and I should go back and read some of those Carl Jung books. A lot of people, during his time, when he was famous, a lot of people said this to Carl Jung.
What a pervert.
And it led him to examine his shadow self, and he said, I am a pervert, actually.
The climate change one is a weird one, so
that's because there's no such thing as climate, right? Climate and everything are the same word. And that's what bothers me about the climate change types. It's like, this is something that bothers me about it technically. It's like, well, climate is about everything. So, okay. But your models aren't based on everything. Your models are based on warming. A set number of variables.
Yeah.
So that means you've reduced the variables, which are everything, to that set. Well, how did you decide which set of variables to include in the equation if it's about everything? And that's not just a criticism. That's like, if it's about everything, your models aren't right. Because your models do not and cannot model everything.
Yeah, hi, NASA. I just heard a pretty convincing case from a Canadian YouTuber that, you guys need to wrap it up. What qualifications does he have as a climatologist? Well, he uploads videos about how wearing a mask during COVID is the same as Nazis. Hello?
Much more that has to be accounted for. And so the probability that your prediction is correct decreases as you move forward in time. That's why we discount the future, right? So if you ask people, you want $5 now or do you want $5 in a month? They're going to say, well, I want $5 now. Well, you think, well, why is that? Well, if I have it now, it's certain. A month, well, there's a lag in there and anything could happen. And you can play games with people this way. And because people differ in the degree to which they discount the future, because how seriously to take the future is actually a near computationally impossible task to solve.
Hi, NASA. Yeah, it's me again. I just wanted you to, first of all, take down climate.nasa.gov/evidence, as well as all that other crap you guys been doing, because Jordan Peterson, ever heard of him, just explained that it's the same as if you get $5 later instead of now. Hello?
Classic example. There's a chicken, and the farmer goes out every day and feeds the chicken. And the chicken thinks, man, I've got a good friend in this farmer. And then one day it's dinner time, and the chicken's the main course, right? And so the poor chicken used induction to derive certainty. The farmer comes every day. He didn't realize there was a massive flaw in his theory. And one day that flaw reveals itself and everything falls apart.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense when you're talking about chickens and farmers. But when you're talking about human beings and
so we could
CO2...
we could play a future discounting game. So
hi, NASA. Yeah, it's me again. I think there's something wrong with your phone. We keep getting disconnected. But I just want to see if you could take down that study that says climate change is going to start affecting crops in 10 years. Certain crops will go down by 20%. Can you take that down? Because, I was just watching a Joe Rogan Experience with Jordy Peterson, and he says that a chicken thought that he was going to get food again, but then the farmer ate him as his meal. He ate the chicken. Yes, he is wearing a tuxedo. Yes, I am wearing headphones.
And one day that flaw reveals itself and everything falls apart.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense when you're talking about chickens and farmers.
Why?
When you're talking about human beings and
so we could
CO2.
play a future. Well, we could play.
Jordan Peterson really is one of the most black-pilled mother cluckers to bring back the chicken on the planet. Because what he's saying here, if you just see through, I can do this kind of Jordan Peterson stuff. If you see through, if you're looking through this ideology, if you just look through what he's saying, all he's saying is Tina, baby. There is no alternative. There's no alternative. This is it. It's the best we could do. There's no meaningful human project to move toward. Trying to build some sustainable infrastructure or investing a bunch in some technology to try to deal with this. Nope. In fact, it doesn't even exist.
The fastest way to make the planet sustainably green and ecologically viable is to make poor people as rich as possible, as fast as we possibly can.
Bye-bye.
Because the thing about poor people is that, well, first of all, they're not resource efficient. They use a lot of resources to produce very, very little outcome. And so that's a problem. Slash and burn agriculture, for example. But even more importantly, when you're insecure on a day-to-day basis, you don't know where your next meal is coming from, you're not paying attention to the broader environment, that hated word, around you.
This definitely checks out. How do we deal with the climate crisis? Focus on these poor countries. Focus on these poor countries, these poor bastards. Rich countries, including the United States, Canada, Japan, and much of Western Europe, account for just 12% of the global population today, but are responsible for 50% of all the planet-warming greenhouse gases released from fossil fuels and industry over the past 170 years.
When I look at this news, I start having an anxiety attack, and it makes me cry.
Look, I watched so many minutes of this. I watched like 3 hours of this, okay? And when you spend 3 hours with a person, you're like, this is a person, you know? And there's a little moments where I'm like, I like Jordan Peterson. But I will say also that what he's saying here is borderline gibberish, they call it in the scientific community. Borderline gibberish.
If you are serious about the environment and even vaguely concerned about poor people, all of your policies would be devoted to making the poor rich as fast as possible. But that would violate the anti-capitalist presumption, let's say, that the reason for environmental degradation in the first place is, say, entrepreneurial and free market development.
So you guys out there, correct me if I'm wrong on this, or if I'm misunderstanding something here or something. But basically what he's saying is and he even says environment, if you're concerned about the environment, if you're concerned about the environment, what you need to do is you need to do more capitalism. In these countries that are not doing it, they need to do it. Don't we have a test case for this? And again, I'm a common moron, okay? I'm the Joe Rogan of my time, many call me. But we have a test case for this, right? So this is from May 2021. Report. China emissions exceed all developed nations combined. So, I mean, correct me if I'm misunderstanding what he's saying here. Because I'm almost like I must be misunderstanding what he's saying here. The other thing that feels so scammy about this is that Jordan Peterson gets into a whole back and forth with Joe in this. My boy Joe. My boy Jordy gets into it with Joe back and forth about just global capitalism. They start talking about it. They're going back and forth. Joe's pushing back. He's like, well, you know, they ship all these jobs overseas. Blah, 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 blah. They go back and forth. Jordan Peterson backed out of a debate with, where is he, this guy?
Make pee-pee, make pee-pee, make pee-pee.
Where?
Toilets.
Okay, now that makes sense. He backed out of a debate with Richard Wolff, right? If you want to really get a dialogue going, why not talk to that guy? Why not talk to a guy who's like really ready to have that, who's been spending his whole life ready to present that side of the argument? Oh, no. I'll go on Joe. I'll go on Joe so I can seem smart, because I'm just like talking down to a guy who's like has no preparation for this crap, and I'm not, and I never get it's seriously challenged. It just feels a little bit scammy to me. It's like I can go here. I know I'm not going to get challenged that much. I can repeat my talking points.
The United States has cut its carbon emissions 15% in the last 20 years. It's going down, not up, down. Why? Fracking. Yeah, fracking.
Really?
This thing that environmentalists hate. It's like, don't frack.
But it's a double-edged sword, right? Because fracking has definitely polluted some water supplies.
Not really.
No? It hasn't polluted any water supplies?
Look.
Did you ever see
everything pollutes something. And so the idea that there's any source of energy that we can derive
Wait, let's see that again.
Right? Because fracking has definitely polluted some water supplies.
Not really.
No? It hasn't polluted any water supplies?
Look.
Did you ever see
everything pollutes something, and
yeah, but it's polluted some water supplies, right? No, not really. It's never polluted water supplies? Well, everything pollutes something. Jordy! I mean, if I had an audience of like, I don't know, millions or whatever that Jordy Peterson, I would be like very am I getting this stuff right? Am I making mistakes? You gotta kind of hand it to Jordy. He just kind of doesn't give a crap. He's like, whatever. All this NASA's fake, all these NASA studies, and all this scientific crap is fake because I don't like it. Kiss my ass. I'm Jordy.